Hey, welcome back to Keeping It Real, IGN's movie show. Terri, Ahmad, Jim, we're right back at you. Let's dive in and talk about the big stuff this week that is not related to an American election. Spider-Man back in the news this week. Tom Holland, Spider-Man. Apparently, that young chap, because he's British, he has a 6-picture deal. 3.
You were about to say he has a 6-pack, and I was like, I know. I've seen his videos on Instagram. Yeah,
that boy can flip.
Yeah,
and dance,
but only in 6 pictures.
And he's
apparently.
quite charming.
He is.
But anyways, he's got a 6-picture deal, 3 Spider-Man films, and then 3 like the MCU proper films. Because remember, Spider-Man is with Sony; they're sharing the character. Now he has already done 2 of them: Civil War and Spider-Man: Homecoming. So, my question to you, good folks, panel: How should Spider-Man be used in the 4 films that are left? Let's focus on the MCU. How should, in those 2 films then, let me put it this way, how should the MCU use him? Should he be in Infinity War? Should he just do team-up movies? What do you guys think? Ahmad, you're staring at me more intensely than Terri, who was just giving me kind of a sweet smile, like a puppy.
Spider-Man is a powerful character, but he's new to the MCU, and I think you kind of build and have him get more powerful as it goes on. I would put him in the planetary stuff and not the interplanetary stuff. I don't. Infinity War's got enough people in it. I don't think we need 6 more characters. I don't even think we need Spider-Man. So I would put him in standalones and bring Marvel people into it. Bring the Tony Starks in. Hey, work out a deal with Fox. Bring Mr. Fantastic in.
Terry-nator.
To that, I think that the standalone films will be taken by the Sony side. So you're right, it will mostly be how does he fit into the plan and the Marvel plan as it stands. I think it should be noted, remember back when Chris Evans only had a couple picture deal, and now he's like, keep giving me that money. Like, I'll keep whatever you want. So I have a feeling Tom Holland will be the same way at 6 pictures for now.
Right.
I have a feeling that, once we get to the second Avengers Infinity whatever movie, he'll suddenly re-up and appear in more things. I do agree with you, though. I think Infinity War, or whichever one, is going to be more planetary versus interplanetary. Obviously, the Avengers are going to have to go from being on Earth to being wherever the heck Thanos ends up being. So I think you're right. I think Spider-Man, in that, they've already said they aren't going to have every character together in one movie, though I hope they're lying. So, the team-up question, though, he's so much fun with Tony Stark, and we're going to see that in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Maybe Ant-Man would be fun. Yeah. Another really tech ground level character.
Bug related. I mean, Goldman and I were joking earlier about MCU should just dive in and do the full-on Bug movie.
Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Spider.
And Black Widow. Black Widows are technically bugs, right?
I'm imagining this now like a bait or a Charlotte's Web sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where, Scarlett Johansson's in the web, nurturing Tom Holland.
Wait, does this mean who would be the pig then? Are they going to bring in Spider Ham? That would be rad. Holy crap, we're onto something.
Oh my God, this is early in this podcast for it to already be going off the rails.
Off the rails.
I didn't even mention Captain Carrot.
We are, now we're talking. Now, I just want to point out, however, as much as Tom Holland would probably be fine re-upping, the deal with Sony, what's the deal with Marvel and Sony? That would have to be worked out again, because right now, the understanding is that they're sharing the character. Marvel basically doesn't get the money from the Sony films. Sony doesn't get the money from the Marvel films. There is a new Sony boss. Sony's not been doing well. They would have to make a new deal between Sony and Marvel. Would Sony actually kind of play hardball and be like, we want a cut now of your money if you want to keep using this character?
I think it's contingent on how well Spider-Man Homecoming does with relation to Civil War, right? Civil War obviously did really well. The introduction of Spider-Man in that movie was incredibly well received. If that doesn't translate to money for Sony, and it's just having Spider-Man in MCU movies is building those up more and not going vice versa, I bet that they would go that route. And honestly, I think it would be smart to go that route down the line if they keep being as integrated as it looks like they're going to be. But I'm not concerned. I think that beyond the most discerning consumer, most people are not going to say, oh, well, this is not an MCU film, this is an MCU film. I think people are going to be like, oh, cool, Spider-Man standalone movie like that guy in Civil War. Or,
Yeah, they don't.
remember
Most
that.
people don't know.
So I don't think
who
it's
the
going
hell
to
puts out
negatively affect them.
What do you think about
I would bring him, as far as bringing him into the Marvel properties, first of all, I don't think Sony's going to play hardball because I think they know that Marvel ushering this is going to bring them the best possible product. I think they've figured that out. That's why this happened. But I think as far as bringing him into an existing Marvel property, Captain America, Iron Man, those are probably your two best bets, and Ant-Man, like you said.
Now, I'm curious though.
Although Ant-Man's located on the West Coast, so Spider-Man might have to.
Road trip.
Yeah, he's scouting for colleges. Let's go to Caltech.
What about
Berkeley.
look, Doctor Strange lives in New York. I know they're completely different realms. You have
The five
kid-
boroughs heroes.
Exactly, right? So Doctor Strange is there, but what could Spider-Man, or Spider-Man, as my cousins used to say, along with Tarzan, could Spider-Man be the way to bring another street-level hero with whom he has had many adventures in the comics, Daredevil, and they share a rogues gallery? Is that how you get Charlie Cox's Daredevil into the big screen MCU?
I just think tonally they're so different. Even though they're very intertwined in the comics, within the MCU, one is just leagues away from the other. And I think there are connective tissues, like you probably could have brought it in through something like Doctor Strange, maybe. But Spider-Man, which is so light, especially like Spider-Man Homecoming, is a fun kid high school movie. Like you don't bring dark, sad Matt Murdock like
Pummeling somebody with a lead pipe.
and ninjas
redemption.
into that. So maybe eventually, but I think the MCU.
Although, can you believe how hilariously inappropriate it would be to just see, Daredevil pummeling a guy with a lead pipe and Spider-Man being like, holy what are you doing? You know?
Beep. That being said, like I would much rather see Matt Murdock versus Daredevil appear in a Spider-Man movie, like Aunt May needs a lawyer or something.
Exactly. Aunt May needs a lawyer. What'd you do now, Aunt May? She gets caught shoplifting out of Ross or something, like.
Yeah, I prefer because I look at the Netflix shows as Marvel Knights, and I feel like you just kind of you put all those characters over here, and
I feel like Luke Cage could work though in
They
a Spider-Man movie.
they
He's a little
could.
bit more. He's got that kind of Captain America sort of quality.
Maybe a later Spider-Man movie. I don't
Maybe.
think this one. But again, my guesstimations.
I like him on TV.
Yeah.
My guesstimations were more on the movie lineup as we know it, because again, I think by the time Phase 4 is announced, we're going to get whatever that new deal is, an
Right.
extension of product.
Well, we
projects.
want to hear from you folks. How should Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, be used in the MCU in the two movies that they have left with him? Let us know in the comments. A couple other Spider-Man things I want to rattle off. Michael Giacchino, Oscar winner for Up, and he's basically the new John Williams, you know.
For Disney, yeah.
He's done
John
a
Williams
lot
is
of
still
Pixar
around. Damn it!
I know. John Williams, there you go. Bury all of you. He's done the Star Trek reboots. He has done Jurassic World, and he's going to do. He did Doctor Strange, and he's going to do Spider-Man: Homecoming score. So that's very cool. And then also Zendaya.
You mean you aren't hip with your Disney Channel shows, Jim?
Well, no, and I've been called out in comments before for getting her name wrong. And then, of course, once I committed to memory, and I blank.
You
Like,
blank.
how do
You panic.
How do you say it?
Panic. Be nice to Jim. He doesn't know how to
she-
say Zendaya.
That's the one name I can't seem to nail, right? Come on, I've been pretty good, Google and Batara. She has said that her character, who we still don't know, is she really Mary Jane? We don't know. Is not a romantic, not a love interest for Peter Parker. She's described her as awkward but very cool. But come on, she's probably the nerd who cleans up for prom, and then all of a sudden, whoa, it's a
slow
Cinderella
motion
story.
air reveal.
Yeah, it's a Pearl
She's all
commercial.
that. Yeah, it's funny.
That's going to be the new GIF is Ahmad doing this. There we go.
She said similar stuff before. Like there is another character in there who's basically Peter's dream girl. But I think you're right. I think Mary
Gwen
Jane
Stacy.
is like is quite like again is
But you had
quietly
some
the
Liz Allen or
girl
something, yeah.
the girl next door.
Yeah.
Sort of like a reversal of what it was.
Actually, in
the
his case, it would
comics.
be the apartment next door, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because he lives in one of the
Well, she
the
still
big
can be the
high-rise
girl
ones.
next door,
There you
even
go.
if
Right.
it's in an apartment.
So, let's move on to Doctor Strange. Now, we're going to talk some spoilers here, but I have a feeling most of y'all who follow this show have probably seen that picture.
At least twice.
At least twice. I've seen it twice. Liked it about the same the second time. The needle didn't really change much for me. I still really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Not great. It was really good. But Terri, you weren't able to be on the spoiler cast that we did. Just real quick, get your thoughts on the movie overall. Did you like it? Didn't like it?
Yeah, I did like it. I've seen it once.
Wait, did we talk about this last week?
We did talk a little bit about it last week, but
All right, never mind. So tell us about the tropes aversion.
yeah, exactly. It did subvert the trope. Again, spoiler for the end of the movie. Scott Derrickson said in a Q&A, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't think about this beforehand, but there's the familiar Marvel or just superhero trope of a city being destroyed at the end of the movie. So he intentionally wanted to repair a city, have a city undestroyed, which is an interesting way to look at that final sequence in Hong Kong. I mean, ultimately there is a city that's destroyed and needs to be saved. It's just there isn't an incredible loss of life from it.
Yeah.
So I think it's like getting around the trope by sort of doing the trope already. But I will say, since this is the week after release, this is a big post-credit spoiler. If you haven't seen it, I'll like wave my hands or something in
Do
a
the
minute
Ahmad
or two.
gif, come
the
on.
Ahmad gif. Well, I can't do it yet. I need to wait until I
just
say my
did it again.
spoiler. But yeah, the thing that got me most excited in this movie was the reveal that Doctor Strange is going to be in Thor Ragnarok and like
Yep.
help them out, which is so cool. And then I realized my biggest problem and impatience with this movie is whatever, like, cool, Doctor Strange getting to know his powers, but the fun of the MCU right now, as proven by Captain America Civil War, is seeing everyone together.
Yeah.
And I think the issue with an origin movie so late in the game is you're like, all right, checking the clock, like, is there going to be a cameo appearance by someone else? Oh, great, we're done with the origin movie. Now they can start pairing him up with other interesting characters and seeing different things, which I will say, I think that they're going to have less of an issue with that going forward because characters like Spider-Man have already been introduced, Black Panther already introduced, like this isn't an origin to who they are. We're assuming Captain Marvel is going to be introduced in Avengers Infinity War before her movie. So I think that they won't have the same issue that they had here. Here's my hand
I
thing.
will say this about Civil War, because I really enjoy the Captain America movies. I almost would have wished that was an Avengers movie instead of being a standalone Cap movie.
But it wasn't. But it wasn't.
It was an
a
Avengers
Yeah, it was
movie.
2.5.
Yeah, Avengers in all but name.
I think because Winter Soldier was so solid, I was like, and I don't know how long Chris Evans is gonna, keep saying no to money, or not saying no to money.
Keep saying yes to money, you mean?
Saying yes. But I'd like at least one more standalone. Even Cap and Bucky, that's fine. Cap and Bucky.
That would be the
call it a day.
fourth solo movie for a character. They've only gone up to trilogies so far.
And I have a
It's called
feeling
Cap and Bucky.
what we'll find in Phase 4 is it's all along the lines of like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think we aren't going to be seeing Iron Man 4, just Iron Man, Captain America 4, just
Yeah.
Captain America. I think it would be
Marvel
more
2 in
like,
one.
yeah, I think it'll be more like how
Here's the
Winter
logos.
Soldier also had Black Widow in it, as a main character, and how we're going to have Thor and Hulk in Thor Ragnarok. But I'm okay with that. Like I just said, and I don't want to get back into the spoiler specific stuff, but I'm really looking forward to the team ups that we'll see, having this huge arsenal of characters, and how do you pair them up to show different facets of each other in really fun ways.
Right.
Like why else do have this many characters?
I want to give a plug to a feature that we did this week. Joshua and I did the video component of it, and we were talking about what we want in a Doctor Strange 2. We should point out that Marvel has not officially announced a Doctor Strange sequel.
Gonna be many
However,
years down the
when
road.
you make $85 million in your opening weekend, you're over $325 million and counting
Worldwide.
you're getting a sequel. Like Ant-Man and the Wasp is happening, and Ant-Man opened up to like almost 30 million less than Doctor Strange. So that being said, I'd like to hear what you guys who weren't in on that conversation, what would you like to see in a Doctor Strange sequel?
More. I think I was a fan of how they set up Baron Mordo at the end, and I thought that was good, nice. At least, hey, we have a possible villain or a possible antagonist of some sort for another movie. I thought that would be a good setup, but you still, I think, probably need a threat for them to either play off against.
Yeah.
But maybe more in the interdimensional realms.
Okay.
Yeah, I think more in the interdimensional realms
And
as
yellow
well.
spotty hands.
And I think that, again, going back to my familiar theme, pairing him up with another fun character, not just having it be sorcerers, but other characters who do...
Dr. Druid, time to introduce Dr. Druid.
Who
Have
do
him played by
dabble in
Dr.
magic.
Phil, because he looks like him.
Or Dr. Dre.
But I also don't necessarily want a Doctor Strange sequel until after the Avengers movies. I don't want them to cram it
So
into
phase
phase
4.
3. Yeah, I want it to be phase 4, and I think that Doctor Strange will have a very prominent role in the Avengers movies. I think that they will feel in many ways like a Doctor Strange sequel, and I'm saying that solely because he is so a Tony Stark.
He's Tony 2.0.
He is just a very powerful personality and being emboldened by his abilities as a sorcerer, something that the Avengers will not have anything else. I don't think he's going to come in and be another Scarlet Witch or Falcon, where they're more on, they view themselves maybe a little bit more as the sidekick, the second tier. He is like, I am powerful.
It would be interesting if, let's say, Scarlet Witch has magic powers in the comics, and they've not done that in the movies. They've tied it to the Infinity Stone and stuff. So what if, let's say,
Black Widow.
Let's say Vision dies for some reason, like Thanos
Some
getting
Vision
his
like he
Infinity
has
Stone.
an Infinity Stone in his
like,
head that's powering him.
Oh, and I'm done. But what if you have either Vision and Scarlet Witch, or just Vision, or just Scarlet Witch team up with Doctor Strange? I feel like, and he kind of shows her helps her kind of harness her power in a way that kind of gives her magic, but you know what I mean?
I mean,
Or they train each other, or
Yeah.
I would love to see, so I don't know why I keep going back to Ant-Man, but like Ant-Man,
ants.
yeah, I guess I'm just like, where are they? But we had the quantum realm scenes in Ant-Man. It would be fun to have him have more of like a technical way maybe to get into, I don't know if that necessarily works, to have him get into the astral plane or at least play around with that different ideas.
How does Ant-Man get into the quantum realm? Isn't it he just hits a button?
He
Because
just keeps he shrinks without stopping.
Okay.
Yeah, he's trying to find where old Wasp.
Yeah. See, now I feel like you can really fall down a rabbit hole of, but wait, like of plot hole kind of things, and being like, well, Joshua has pointed out a few things. He's a little ticked. He doesn't feel like that's true magic in Doctor Strange, that it's really just science that they're using.
Which is the Thor rationale.
Yeah. And so he's a little, I'm not going to speak for him, though. We'll get him on one of these days.
That's interesting. I totally bought it as being magic, but it worked for me. It didn't feel out of place in the MCU.
Well, I thought it was weird when he was like bibbity bobbity, and I was like, no.
All the dancing brooms from Sorcerer's
Yeah.
Apprentice. Let's move on to a different Marvel thing, the Fox Marvel verse. Now, X-Men, THR had a piece this week where they're saying that 20th Century Fox and Simon Kinberg, who is kind of the writer-producer in those movies, are looking to, quote, reconfigure the franchise. X-Men Apocalypse did fine, but it didn't inspire much love from critics or fans, and it didn't do great. It was kind of
It did just enough.
yeah, but so it's a big, like, well, what now?
Especially
You have two leads leaving.
In the same year that
all the contracts
Deadpool
are-
is the most successful X-Men movie.
Right.
I think that's a sign that there's something that isn't connecting the right way.
And it's also, I think it's oddly enough, it's fatigue franchise with X-Men. It's been around for 16 years. They've done a lot of the classic stories. There was a rumor up right before we did this at Latino Review claiming kind of a play on something Bryan Singer alluded to while doing press for X-Men Apocalypse, which is he'd really like to take them into space, and maybe this is going to be, and this is what Latino Review was saying, that this is going to be the true Dark Phoenix out of outer space story. Frankly,
Dark Phoenix, Starjammers, the whole nine.
Yeah, like actually, Starjammers could be Fox's Guardians of the
Guardians,
Galaxy if they ever wanted to get around to it. In fact, for a long time, I thought they were going to find some way to make Corsair Peter Quill's dad. But But anyways, I digress. But so yes, do you guys think doing basically a repeat of Dark Phoenix, which they already tried to do with X-Men Last Stand, do we have to go through that again?
I mean, I honestly think like they should just cut their losses. There's a lot of different directions the franchise is being pulled in right now. We know that there was rumors about a New Mutants movie. They have 2 TV properties, the Legion on FX and also an untitled sort of family-oriented drama on Fox that's in the works. Hellfire Club actually is not happening.
What?
I know. It's this other one, but
Catchphrase.
Marvel TV, or Marvel has the rights to sharing TV properties. Obviously, that's different on the big screen. But I think people are so confused by the continuity of these movies anyway. Where does Deadpool fit in this universe? There are like 17 different Wolverine movies, none of which have much continuity there.
And we're
between all of
losing
them.
Hugh Jackman.
We're losing Hugh
And
Jackman.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence is leaving.
And Fassbender, McAvoy, all those contracts are up.
I think that you can't do with the X-Men movie franchise what Nintendo did with the Legend of Zelda games, which is basically retcon everything into being like sort of like, oh, these are different alternate timelines. This is what happened when Ganon won here and like lost here and blah, blah, blah. I think they just need to find a way to reboot it and not try and make everything feel together and go on one path, because right now they did try to reboot it and then they tied it all back together and everything got all messed up again.
I think Fox and the X-Men franchise just need to be like, it's not you, it's me. I think I need to take some time. I'm going to go backpacking for a year or 2 and figure myself out. Like, they just need to go their separate ways for a while, and we need a break, and then they can just restart.
But just focus on Deadpool, then, you think?
Yeah,
And
no,
maybe
keep
Gambit,
running
if
with
that will
Deadpool and then
ever
figure
happen.
out how to make your X-Men omelet and fold all the rest of the ingredients in.
Here's my wacky idea about how you do it. Because everyone has become so hip to the convoluted timeline, and Deadpool was such a hit. Deadpool 2 or 3, which they're bringing in Cable anyways, who in the comics is related to Scott Summers and all that. Deadpool simply turns to the camera and just says, hey, you know what? We're going to reboot everything now since Fox can't do it. And snaps his fingers, and all of a sudden, the actors walk off and new actors come in, and you seriously just keep going with the X-Men franchise that way.
I have no problem.
Everybody
with
would just, that's so stupid. And then they would just continue with their lives and watch X-Men movies.
Pardon my French, but I don't think Fox has the balls for that. It would be fun. It would be
Balls,
fun.
I believe, probably comes from the Latin.
they did make Deadpool, though. You got to give them that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that was like a
They've heard
sure,
worse ideas, I
Here
bet.
you go.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying, I want to, just for my own ego, people tell me, what do you think of my crazy Deadpool reboots
Honestly,
X-Men
I'm
idea?
curious, like what everyone listening and watching here does think about the state of the X-Men franchise. So would love to hear your thoughts. Do you feel like it's as run down as we do? Do you think there's nothing wrong with it and they should just keep doing what they're doing even though they're losing some stars? And what crazy ideas do you guys have?
Now, in the THR piece, they did say that Kinberg is developing a next installment optimistically with Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, and McAvoy in mind. But, so that suggests it's still the same timeline, but maybe they would recast. And it'll be interesting to see, but they definitely, and then there were talks of the New Mutants movie, maybe even going before cameras next year. That's Josh Boone, Fault in Our Stars, doing that one. And Professor X was supposed to be in that one. Maybe you introduce a new Professor X and thus a new team that way, too. But we'll see.
I just don't know how much patience people will have with now a third set of X-Men, third set of the same characters.
That's probably why New Mutants
That might just
is
be me talking
important.
for myself.
But there's
like,
also,
more.
believe it or not only are they still trying to make, are they going to make a Deadpool 2, But they already, again, according to THR, are developing a Deadpool 3 that might introduce X-Force. Because if you're going to get Cable in Deadpool 2, then X-Force, his team, could show up in Deadpool 3. Or
And yes,
X-Force
they are
may be the
already
new
talking
X-Men.
about Deadpool 3.
Yes.
That's a
The
reality.
X-Force movie would be actually really cool. If you're going to take the kind of tone of the Deadpool movie and go in that direction, by all means, just keep it, you know.
So you think X-Force then could be the future of the X-Men franchise? I'm looking for a headline here. People. I'm
That'd be
fishing.
That'd be the direction I would, that I'd go in. And also, you can bring in new characters by every Deadpool movie, having the breakfast scene from Deadpool, and like it's two different characters instead of Colossus and another character. You just keep bringing them in, and like, okay, they've ushered into the Deadpool movie at breakfast.
All right. Well, let's move on from X-Men to Fantastic Beasts 2 is going to have young Dumbledore.
Yes. Which
I am going to
which
say
one is
his
that
name.
coming?
I'm going to emphasize the wrong syllable.
Syllable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes, they
like
actually made
from what we heard, like even the early fan event that Joshua went to, none of us have seen Fantastic Beasts yet. Joshua's review will be coming Saturday. So keep an eye out. He will not tell me any spoilers. I keep trying. He's like,
He's
no, it'll
told
ruin
me
the
a
movie.
couple.
He did. Oh, what a jerk. I need to bribe him with more
Harry
money.
Potter's not quite my jam, as the kids say.
I know. A lot of people gave you sass in the comments before for teasing me for my fandom. I don't think
away,
the
sassy.
news that a young Dumbledore is coming is surprising to anyone. The biggest problem
How
is
young,
knowing.
isn't he? He's
No,
like
I think-
me
An
young, right?
embryo.
Right, young compared to Michael Gambon and
Yeah.
massive beard Dumbledore, who we know.
So
I
he's going to
imagine
be sexy goateed Dumbledore?
I imagine he'll be probably will be. I don't want Dumbledore to be sexy personally, but if that's your cup of tea, have it with some milk and honey like the Brits do. But I would imagine that this casting of young Dumbledore will be comparable to the Johnny Depp casting of Grindelwald, who we know he is playing Gellert Grindelwald. What's more interesting though is that J.K. Rowling. If you were paying attention to Harry Potter beyond the page, we found out after the events of Deathly Hallows that Dumbledore is gay. J.K. Rowling wrote him that way. It doesn't affect the story at all. It's just shading in that character. And talking with some reporters, it sounds like she's like, we got 5 movies in total. We'll certainly explore that relationship and probably bring in that side of him more than when he was a teacher to Harry, more as, just a character, an active character in this universe, which I think is interesting to make it more part of the canon.
Any guesses on who should play him? I tossed out. I was thinking Jared Harris, who is Richard Harris's son, the original Dumbledore, and then he passed away, and they brought in Michael Gambon.
The man called
Maybe him as
Horse.
young Dumbledore,
Yeah,
or
you say this is a leading question because we had an email chain going about it, and on it, like none of us had like this would be the perfect person. I think the thing that's tripping me up is they would need to have really good chemistry with Johnny Depp,
Starting,
be
yeah.
as esteemed an actor.
Colin Firth.
I just don't think Colin Firth has the right like sort of spry energy of. I don't know.
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it needs a big name, but I've been stumped on this. There's no one person. And I've gone through lists. I was like, I'm just not inspired. Which actor hasn't been in the Harry Potter movies? There aren't many left.
I know.
I don't know. Tilda Swinton for Dumbledore.
Hey.
Tilda Swinton for everything.
She'll put on the ball cap.
She'd be a great Dumbledore.
Let's move on to. I'm going for a segue here.
Every time you say segue, I picture Paul Blart.
Blart, yep.
Every single time.
We'll have to create an image of me on that, and I'll just have it.
That'll
go
be
by
the logo
screen.
for Keeping It Real is
Yeah.
Jim on a Segway.
You think that's a ridiculous idea? I've heard worse. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. That is Luc Besson's upcoming adaptation of the French graphic novel series from way back in the day, like 60s, 1960s.
Early 70s, I believe.
Yeah, and it looks interesting. Let's talk about the trailer.
It's
We've
a
all seen it.
space epic.
Yeah,
It's
colorful.
we've had a couple of years of kind of science-based sci-fi movies like The Martian and Interstellar and this kind of
and this weekend's Arrival.
and Arrival, which I can't wait to see. I think I'm the only one who still hasn't seen
Great.
it. We've had those films, and then we on the TV side we've had the post Battlestar Galactica kind of gritty sci-fi type stuff.
Expanse.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. All the stuff that sci-fi's been doing, honestly, they've been doing good work. And so it's been a while since we've had, since really almost since Guardians, that we've seen this big spacey sci-fi spaceships, alien monsters. That's not Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited, and it definitely, I was surprised at how big it looked. They were like multiple locations, multiple aliens, different textures, and everything looked different. I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, when I watched the trailer, that opening sequence, I was like, this is exactly what I would hope for from a Luc Besson, another sort of
He did the
French-inspired.
Fifth Element.
Yeah.
And La
French-inspired
Femme
famous-
Nikita.
Yes. But I mean, I get a lot of Fifth Element vibes where Fifth Element was a French farce in a lot of ways, a sci-fi French farce. This one seems a bit more
I will
serious.
not say may the farce be. Oh, I
No,
did.
you did it. You did it.
did, I couldn't myself.
Watching the trailer, it felt to me like if he made Fifth Element now, I feel like it would have these special effects. The aliens look really cool and different. But I was watching it, and I was like, yeah, it has me. And then I was like, I just don't get what this movie is supposed to be, which doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing, but I just did not find myself connected. And also, Cara Delevingne, like, I could really
This
not
was a
even take her
teaser.
leave. I could just leave her. Like, she just doesn't sell a movie for me. And everything except for the Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne of it all, which are the two main characters. Like, he's Valerian in this movie. That to me, I was
wonder
like,
about
if
their
it was
chemistry,
if
though.
it was other
Well, this
people,
is-
maybe I would care more.
This is like kind of the conversation as far as what's in the trailer. This was like our conversations about Rogue One, where when you guys saw the original trailers, which are not story trailers, they were traditional teasers. You're like, I'm not sure.
No,
This
I
is-
was on board.
Well, yeah,
I
Jim wasn't on board. my
I
bad.
was Jimmy
But-
Skeptic.
But I think this is the same thing where you're seeing, people have been talking about it, and Luc Besson's making this $150 million movie. What does it look like? And we see a poster, and then like literally nothing else. And then it's like, oh, here it is. We'll tell you what the story is later. And Luke has said that himself, is that the next trailer will be a story-based trailer, so look for that later. I believe they're actually working on it
I
now-ish.
hope it works because I think it is interesting. You mentioned the Rogue One trailer, and we're going to talk more about Rogue One in a little bit. But
Test.
the Star Wars films, and Lucas, is influenced by a wide array of things. Obviously, for Star Wars, it's been well documented. It's no secret. But Valerian comics do have some actual sequences that the Star Wars movies later did. Valerian did it first. There's basically a frozen in carbonite. There's a Darth Vader-looking character.
But you
There's
say
a
that to
clone
me,
army.
and I think John Carter.
Yeah, exactly. So you're actually getting to and it wasn't even written down. This is how well we work together.
Synergy.
So yeah, John Carter had that same problem of we did it first, but everyone thinks we're ripping it off. And
we
it's
did it
tough to get
first.
that message across.
Decades and decades and decades ago. I mean,
Yeah.
John Carter was so far back. It's such an old property.
But I just don't think that the source material for Valerian has any resonance. Like, please let us know if you've read Valerian before. I know
want to.
Joshua
I'm
is
reading it
reading
now.
it right now and
Which
really
is-
likes it, but I just don't think that it has any name value. Like
Which
Andrew
is
Stanton
fine.
with John Carter was like. He loved John Carter so much. He was like, "This is Superman," and no one else felt that way.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is a similar thing here.
I feel
curious.
like the adaptation. This is less of an adaptation because for a lot of audiences here, this isn't a property we're familiar with in any ways. So we're seeing it as a new sci-fi film, and I'll take it as that. I don't have to have any kind of identification with the source
I
material.
do wonder though, just from a business perspective, do you need something that's a more recognizable IP if you don't have that Marvel or Disney brand in front of it?
I
We'll see though,
certainly
Valerian
hope
could
not.
pop overseas,
I certainly hope not, because I don't want to be watching just reboots and retranslations and sequels for the next 10 or 20 years.
Honestly, I don't think I can get through a podcast anymore without bringing up Suicide Squad, but I see Cara Delevingne. All I can picture is like her Enchantress dance. And I'm
We
just
have
like,
so many gifts that we're going to get out
Out of
of
this
week's
episode?
show. Everyone.
yeah.
I'm
If you're
I'm
listening to it, you're missing out because the video
Make audio loops.
top
I
notch.
know, seriously, people. Now, Rogue One. We've been talking a little bit about Star Wars here. There was a new international trailer that dropped today. Showed some new stuff, new shot of
Pretty dang
Vader.
good.
Vader is basically, looks like he's trying to get a signal in there. He's got some weird
What we don't
hand
know is it's
gestures.
Hello?
actually just an
Hello?
outtake that
Hello?
actor was asking for his
He's-
phone, and they're like,
he's
this looks good.
Dude, I got to check my email. I'm waiting. My agent. This isn't what I signed up for, people. Yeah, so it looks very cool.
Definitely the most story-driven trailer, to go to your
Yeah.
earlier point. Like, this is
Yeah.
pretty late in the game
There's
for them.
and a lot of detail.
But I watched it, I was
Jyn
like, I
Erso's
wish
mom,
this
we
was
see
the
her.
first trailer. Like, this is exactly what I want from a Rogue One trailer, and it got
So
me
you liked
so
it more
excited.
than the last one that we
did.
just got a few weeks ago?
I did.
I kind of did too, although this one jumped into details that they brought up in the last one.
Did
so
you feel
it
like
felt
it
like
was-
a companion.
Sorry, I don't
I
mean
liked
to
the
keep
last
talking
one
over
more,
you.
But I like this one second.
Do you think it gave away too much? Because I saw people concerned about spoilers. I didn't think it was particularly spoiler.
I think it gave you. There's a shot in the other trailers where the U-wing with Captain Andor and Jyn Erso are flying, and there's some stuff. There's rubble and all kinds of stuff here. By the time you get to this trailer, you know exactly what's going on there.
Right.
Like they spell that whole sequence out. They give you the kind of impetus for this film. It's not like we know the Death Star is already built at the time of this movie. We know from the very first teaser that the laser cannon the turbo laser is just being added. So this trailer gives you the impetus as what they're rushing to, not just to destroy the Death Star, but like there is another inciting incident that they're obviously trying to
So
stop.
the whole movie is
This
about
had
a
a lot
guy
of
having
detail.
a satellite dish installed on the roof of his house.
Look, Palpatine likes
Very
to watch.
Getting
universal
DirecTV.
experience.
Palpatine likes to watch
dish
a lot of South American comedies,
Yeah.
and he can't get those in the farthest reaches of space without this
Man,
dish.
people love soccer. You gotta get
I wanna
this.
This is
Kid
where we
Pasa
reveal
USA.
that Ahmad and Jim have written this movie. Who's written it?
Now
Busted.
I have and we're not gonna really get political on this show because we don't really do that. Maybe one day we
Please,
will.
I'll just start crying.
But I will say that I wonder now with Rogue One. Let's just lay it out there. It is a female-led movie, a female-led multicultural ensemble going up against a white imperialist.
But that's just Star Wars.
Did
Yeah, Star
hold
Wars,
on,
the
but
villains are
wait,
always
did
Brits.
Rogue One just become a counterculture movie?
We'll see. And
know?
and you're not.
I feel like the
I've heard
timing
other
is
people
very
make this
straight, you know?
make the same assertion. this
I'm
week.
just saying, Gareth Edwards, the director of Episode 8, the first thing he tweeted out after the election results was the
Rebel logo.
Yeah.
The
so,
Star Wars Rebel logo, not the other.
So
Rebel
I'm
logo.
just curious, will Rogue One suddenly have a resonance or have people bring up things that perhaps they wouldn't before? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask
You're gonna
Felicity
rebel.
Jones that when I hopefully meet her tonight at a reception thing for A Monster Calls.
Nice
So,
humble brag. I'm going to one-up
saying.
you.
Yes.
Because
When I talk to
Try.
Felicity
Go
Jones
ahead,
again,
try.
You go talk to Felicity Jones. I'm going to be talking to Scarlett Johansson this weekend in freaking Tokyo at a trailer launch event for Ghost in the Shell, which I'm pretty dang excited about.
I'm going to be at a Mega Man birthday party.
Yay! Okay, Ahmad won.
Well, look, that's tough to top, but I'm just saying. Tell the folks a little bit about some of the Ghost in the Shell stuff too that you ran this week.
Yeah, so I had been on a set visit a while back. We talked a little bit about this last week about some of the pieces that I put up from set, what we were able to tell. I gave my overall thoughts on Ghost in the Shell, but we're recording this on Thursday, earlier this morning. So when you see this Friday, you'll have to travel back in your Facebook feed and IGN.com feeds a bit. But we put up this really, what I think is really cool behind the scenes featurette, really the most footage we've seen of Ghost in the Shell. And again, I was talking about it last week on Keeping It Real. Like, we saw a lot of concept art. We saw a set. The scene we saw filming, actually, you can see a snippet of in this behind the scenes featurette. It's just like Scarlett Johansson poking out from behind a pole and like aiming her gun. So it wasn't the most dramatic sequence, but yeah, so I didn't get a really sense visually of this movie. Seeing it here now, it seems really cool, and I think we're gonna get a lot of like one-for-one shots from the anime
Well,
in the
you
trailer.
had some stuff too that you ran today about the opening of the film. Tell the folks a little.
Well, if you've seen the Ghost in the Shell 1995 anime film, you'll probably remember the shelling sequence, as it's called, which is basically when Major, the cyborg, is built, and it's like the music is like really iconic. The imagery has gone on to influence everything from The Matrix to freaking Westworld. Like, I just watching some episodes, I'm like, oh, you got this straight from Ghost in the Shell. And
Didn't our producer Kyle also mention like a Bjork video too,
yeah.
right?
But so they're making this scene in the live action movie. You can see snippets of it in this footage. I have a feeling you'll be able to see more in the trailer. Just gut
Trailer
instinct.
drops Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Okay.
But it basically talked to the folks at Weta and the producers on the film how and why they went about making the shelling sequence the way they did. Basically, they said they couldn't quite crack it until Richard Taylor at Weta, the same folks behind Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, was like, you know what? I need to figure out step by step what would you need to do to make a cyborg. Not just take the shots as they appear in the anime, but truly understand. Okay, you start with the framing, you fill it in here, like everything
What
you
a rad
need.
thing. I would love to sit there and just have the guy just walk through it.
Yeah,
with
and
my-
so he basically he told us vaguely, and I could not convey it well in the piece, but we did see sort
Well,
of
that's selling
an early res version of what
Yes.
they'll be doing, and it seems like they're just like they get it. So
now I want Richard Taylor to actually build a cyborg because that would be
well,
cool.
they did. I mean, we saw a bunch of the models there. He said it would be 60% practical, 40%
Holy
digital
crap.
effects, which
That's
is going to be
pretty
really, really
Wow.
cool. They went
That
really
sounds
hard
rad.
on like having a very healthy balance of more practical than digital anime
Well,
special effects here.
So
More
you're
shell.
probably not going to be on next week's show because you're going to
No,
be out
I'm
of town.
I'm gonna be in Osaka, actually hanging
Send
out
me-
with our UK
Oh.
cohorts, Daniel Krupa and
Gav
Gav
Murphy?
Murphy. Yeah, from you'll
Nice.
know them from Superhero Show, RIP, and IGN UK podcast.
Yeah,
so.
I should actually, maybe you guys didn't hear, but the superhero show, now that our beloved Chris Tilley has left IGN for other pastures, the superhero show's not
Yeah,
happening
they decided not
anymore.
to continue it.
They feel like it was a tough chemistry to capture. It was, after Keeping It Real, my second favorite show here on IGN. So I'm
You're so
personally
biased.
very, very bummed.
So biased.
But
yeah, I won't be on
send me your
Keeping It
thoughts,
Real.
Terry, about the Ghost in the Shell trailer when you see it. And we'll talk definitely for sure about Ghost in the Shell on next week's show.
And say hi to the IGN Japan.
Yeah,
team if you see 'em.
give Krupa and Gav hugs for us. Come on, I love those
and keep
guys.
an eye on our IGN Snapchat Discover channel. We're going to have like a whole bunch of not just straight Ghost in the Shell stuff, but we're going to go over there and do some really fun little features.
And you guys are going to
on
go to the
Snapchat.
Wizarding World over
We
there
are.
too, aren't
Yeah,
you?
but the Ghost in the Shell big Snapchat edition will be on Tuesday, and then we're definitely using our time in Osaka well by comparing everything weird and different in Universal Japan
And
to
eating all the tonkatsu.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
every tonkatsu.
one last thing. You've probably never seen American Werewolf in London, have you?
I actually haven't. You're right.
Yeah, because
Don't
you're
yell
not
at me.
you're not a
I
horror
know,
fan,
I
but
know.
you and I, that's a
That's a
movie
good
of
one.
our generation. Well, Max Landis, son of John Landis, the director of the original, is going to remake it with Robert Kirkman, and I just have to say, thumbs down to that. I don't care if you're the guy's kid and you're talented, and I like Kirkman, all that, but I just
This
feel
is
like
the
that
second,
movie.
the
you
second
don't-
reboot.
That was a
Well,
sharp.
they
That was
did
not a good
American-
segue. I was like, how did we get all the way here
I
from
just
there?
I
You're
forgot that
looking
I
at
had
your
written
notes.
it down, and I just want to throw it out there before it's old news.
Go watch the original again.
Yeah, just
Everybody.
It's kind of a thumbs down on the idea. Look, good luck to you on it, but I feel like, come on, you can do something else.
All right, box office before we gotta go.
I think Doctor Strange obviously will stay number one. I think it'll hold real well. It got an A cinema score. Obviously made $85 million last week, and I think
Which you did a great piece breaking down how that ranks
Oh,
in the
yeah,
MCU
thank you.
openings, which I want to plug because if you're like me and you're immediately like, so 85 million, that sounds good, right? Jim actually broke it all down in a really insightful piece. So
all there, very
Yeah.
just all numbers. And I think, look, this is again not getting political, but there's at least half the country this week that is very depressed, and I think they're going to want to go and escape. So you're going to probably see a lot of people hit the movies again this weekend. But Doctor Strange got an A cinema score. Trolls got an A cinema score. Hacksaw Ridge got one. They all did well.
and Arrival.
And
maybe.
Arrival opens up this weekend. It's a great movie. We gave it a very big thumbs up in our review, written by Chris Tilley, who no longer works here. You guys should definitely go see that. It's Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, and it's from the director of Sicario.
It's really good.
And
really
it's a
good.
very
It was my
smart
pick for the
science
fall.
fiction
I know
movie.
you were
I know.
right. You're better than me with Girl on the Train.
It's kind of, so
didn't
that's
know.
really good. So you get a lot of good options if you want to go see some movies this weekend. But that's going to do it for this week's show. come back next week. We'll
For
be
no Terri.
Ahmad and for a Terri less.
We'll just put a ramen bowl.
It'll be a
where you
Terri Bowl
normally sit.
episode.
puns. I see. This is what happens when you work with me long enough. Your sense of humor goes downhill. Your love of puns goes up to compensate for that. This is what I bring to the table, people. That and a glass of water. So for next week, keep it here at IGN. Send us your thoughts at keepinitreal@ign.com. Follow us on Twitter at Ahmad Childress, at Terry_Schwartz, at Jim Vejvoda. Send us your thoughts about what we had to say about Spider-Man, Marvel, all that. And for all things movies, keep it here on IGN.